very kind hosts and seller for entrusting this property to our care. My name's Jim Sykes. I'll operate under auctioneer licence number 3190408 on behalf of the professionals real estate here in Hervey Bay and on behalf of the Queensland Country Women's Association in accordance with Queensland Government regulation. Ably assisted by a number of our sales staff who are in attendance here today, should you so require their assistance during the course of the auction, because as you'll soon gather, trying to stop me mid-flight is a little bit like trying to stop a runaway freight train. But what a fantastic opportunity you astute judges of real estate have recognised here today. An iconic site, established here 50 years ago, back in 1964, when the land was donated by Mr. George Ross, who two of his daughters are in attendance here today, Lynette and Christina. Not a very bad gesture for a Scotsman to donate a block of land. Then the building was relocated here a couple of years later. It was the top floor of the original RSL club, just up the road here. And they relocated it here by the Hervey Bay RSL subdivision. So that's all going back 50 years. It's now time to move ahead. What associations are doing now is looking to liquidate an asset so that we can spend some money in affordable housing on a project that they currently work on in Tyro. They have a couple of units there that they make available for housing. We'd like to build a few more on there. So with your spirited bidding here today, ladies and gentlemen, don't just consider it as a purchase of an iconic site. Consider it as a worthy donation to a very worthy cause. But prior to accepting your spirited bidding, I am obliged to read to you the terms and conditions under which we conduct a public auction. The property is to be offered for sale on a GST inclusive basis. It means the knockdown price is the for sale price. The highest approved bidder will be the buyer, subject to the reserve price of any and the seller's approval. All bidders must be registered. The auctioneer may register a person as a bidder if they provided satisfactory evidence of name and address, satisfactory evidence of his or her identity. The auctioneer is required to keep a register of all bidders at auction, and we've been doing that. As 3, bids will only be accepted from registered bidders. 4, bidders must use a number identifier provided by the auctioneer to make a bid during the course of the auction. I note you've all been provided with 2 arms, 2 legs. Wave them around freely, I guarantee I won't miss you. The seller may bid either personally or by a representative. Now this is to say that should your bidding not exceed my vendor's expectation, I am quite entitled to have a vendor's bid, up to and including a reserve price of any. The vendor bid will be clearly declared as a vendor's bid, and the bid will be with me. Any person bidding on behalf of another must have provided the auctioneer with their written authority prior to the auction, otherwise they'll be deemed to be acting on their own behalf. I've got one of those. The auctioneer has the discretion to refuse to accept any bid from any person. The bid will be taken to be accepted and irrevocable unless the auctioneer immediately after it is made refuses it. One of my personal favourites. The decision of the auctioneer is final in all matters relating to the auction, and no bidder has any cause of recourse against the auctioneer or the seller. Without affecting that condition, if there is any dispute over a bid, the auctioneer may reopen the bidding and resubmit the property for sale, starting with the highest bid previously accepted, or determine the dispute in any other way the auctioneer considers appropriate. Immediately on the fall of the hammer, the bidder of the highest bid accepted must sign, as buyer, the contracts and forms displayed and circulated with these terms and conditions of sale, and pay the deposit to the nominated stakeholder. The deposit payable under the contract of sale here today, ladies and gentlemen, is 10%. However, we are negotiable to a variation in terms. The seller and the buyer agree to sign and do all documents and do everything else necessary to transfer the property to the buyer. The seller and the buyer appoint the auctioneer their agent to sign the contracts of sale on their behalf, and that appointment is non-revocable. I'm here to sign contracts with anybody here today under auction conditions. If a buyer doesn't pay the deposit, at the seller's auction, the auction will be treated as invalid, and the property may be resubmitted to public auction at the risk and expense of that of the buyer, or the seller may pursue their legal or other remedies against the buyer as they see fit. As mentioned, Clause 3 finance does not apply. Clause 4 building and pest, you don't need that. You're not getting it anyway. And it's a 10% deposit. Unconditional sale on the fall of the hammer here today. I believe these terms and conditions to be fair, true and accurate. Has anyone got any questions or variation in terms in regards to the conduct of a public auction? You're all very well behaved. Another slice of cake. Following a recent Fraser Coast Regional Rates Notice search, the property has been described to me as Lot 3 under registered plan number 57239 in the county of March and the parish of Urangan. It's described as 25 Bideford Street, Torquay, Queensland 4655. We have a freehold land title here of 1,052 metres square, zoned medium density, allowing for perhaps 2 or 3 storey townhouses, maybe down the track. General rates in the vicinity of this property are $2,458.65. plus your water and your waste disposal, that sort of thing, and government levies, brings it into around about $3,957.63. What a very rare opportunity we're presented with you here today, ladies and gentlemen, for your spirited bidding. Whether you secure this 1,052 metre medium density zoning site and just have the whole with a trickle of income coming through to support your holding costs of this land, what's this land going to be worth in the future when we're selling blocks down just 500 metres down the way on the Esplanade for over 500,000? Whether you look at doing a business out of here and operate a business rent-free. I could envisage a second-hand furniture store, maybe a bric-a-brac, maybe a tea room, certainly a yoga school. Definitely a yoga school. And again, supported with this little bit of income coming through all the time. A lot of people have been through here and have envisaged developing it and renovating it into a home. Eccentric, quirky, maybe, but it would work, given its location so close to the beach. I would have thought that was also an option. So a myriad of options present themselves here today, ladies and gentlemen, but you're the judges. You're the ones that are going to set the market price. Has anyone got a price or a figure in mind? Would anyone like to start the bidding? Anyone can throw in a bit of time from now. Got a price or a figure in mind, sir? I would have thought that the block of land, if it was vacant, we could have got $250 for that bill, $250 for the land, surely. $250, and then we've got $100,000 worth of improvements, maybe not. Is there $350,000 anywhere to get you started? $350,000 anywhere. Any bit of rock? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have a bid from an investor from our office from Alice Springs. She'll come in at $200,000. At $200,000 and the bid's in Alice Springs. At $200,000 and I'll take an increment of $50,000 anywhere if you like. That's an increase, Kelly, of 50 increment. At $200,000 now. At $200,000, I'll be in Alice Springs in April. At $200,000, I'll get off the gun and go to the Anzac Parade at $200,000. In Alice Springs. At $200,000, would somebody like to be $250,000? Is there $250,000 anywhere in the room? $200,000 in Alice Springs. $200,000. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll take the prerogative to do a vendor's bid at $275,000. At $275,000 and we're buying it back again. The bid's with me and the vendor at $275,000 and I'll take an increase of $25,000 anywhere if you like. At $275,000. Where's my strong bidder? At $275,000, any bids out on the floor? At $275,000, I'm looking for $25,000 now. At $275,000 is the bid. At $275,000, you could be $300,000 now if you like. At $275,000, at $275,000, cheap for this calibre of property, ladies and gentlemen. Very rarely ever offered. Income stream already established. And the potential to continue that on. At $275,000 now. At $275,000 are we selling? At $275,000. $275,000, you can be $300,000 now. $275,000. Any bid, sir? You're thinking about it though, aren't you? I'll come back to you. $275,000. At $275,000. $275,000. I actually get off the guns and get the go to Elstree. $275,000. At $275,000 now. Any interest there, sir, at $300,000? $275,000 I've got. $275,000 with me and the vendor. I won't delay the agony, ladies and gentlemen. I won't run and trot you. At $275,000, all I've been able to do today is try and position this property in the vicinity that we believe it is valued at on a current market value. What we will now do is walk away from the auction process, which was an unconditional sale on the fall of the hammer. And we are quite prepared to deal under private treaty. This is to say that we will document any offer that you may have, regardless of the passed-in price, and any terms or conditions that you may have. Perhaps it's subject to finance, perhaps it's subject to building permits, perhaps it's subject to selling something elsewhere. Whatever your terms and conditions are, I'm quite prepared to document those for you, present them to the State Office, and we'll try and negotiate the sign-off for you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very, very much for your attendance here today. And on behalf of the professionals real estate in Hervey Bay, please all do enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.